My condolences and thoughts and prayers go out to Ahmaud Arbery and George Floyd's families. And, it's things like this bring people together uh, across different races, across different ethnic groups. But this is a time for justice, and it's a time to be unified in dealing with tragedies like this. So, uh, the families are definitely in my prayers and in my thoughts, as I'm sure they are in a lot of people's thoughts and prayers. I'm going to take a minute to share that I've been grappling with this injustice in our society over these deaths, but how I'm moving from grappling about this to choosing God. And I think about Jesus when he was in the Garden of Gethsemane, how he had to wrestle in prayer in order to get his heart right, to go and die on the cross for us. And I thank God for that, because without Jesus being in my life, I'm telling you, I would not be doing good or good things at this moment. The first thing I think about is just the injustice. Our God is a just God, and people show how he is so just in the Old Testament. But also in the New Testament, there's many passages that talk about how just he is and how he wants us to be just. And so, God is a just God, and I know clearly we need to stand for justice and against injustice. And so we, as a people, as a church, as the Columbia Church, we stand against injustice, and we stand against these specific issues of injustice. And I want you people to know that. Now, the way we're going to deal with it will not be the way the world deals with it. We will deal with it how Jesus does with it, how Jesus does with it. But we will stand, and we do stand for justice and against injustice. And so it's so prevalent in the New Testament how God shows and talks about justice. In fact, Matthew chapter 5, verse 6, and even the Sermon on the Mount, you see this many times, but Matthew chapter 5, verse 6, it says, "Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled." That word righteousness can also be translated as justice. So it will read, "Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for justice, for they will be filled." You also see the same thing in Matthew chapter 5 and verse 10. But it says, "Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." And so it would read this way: "Blessed are those who are persecuted because of justice, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." Matthew chapter 5, verse 20 says, "I tell you that unless your righteousness surpasses that of the Pharisees and the teachers of the law, you will certainly not enter the kingdom of heaven." But it reads this way as well: "For I tell you that unless your justice surpasses that of the Pharisees and the teachers of the law, you will certainly not enter the kingdom of heaven." And then lastly, Matthew chapter 6, verse 33 says, "But seek first his kingdom and his justice, and all these things will be given to you as well." And so God is a very just God. He's about equality. He's about justice. And he wants us to be about that. And so people tell you, man, yeah, we see how God's anger and his justice was in the Old Testament, but it's not that much in the New Testament. Let me tell you, it is from the gospel to Revelation. God's justice is all through the New Testament. In fact, it's all through the Bible. And so he wants us to be just. And so, but I do have emotions and I do have feelings. And I was told at one point, you're a leader, so you can't show your feelings. And I'm like, man, if Jesus showed his feelings, then I'm sure God gave me my feelings. Now, it's a way that I have to show them, But the deal is, I do feel hurt, and I do feel anger, and sometimes I do feel fear, and I do feel sadness over this stuff. And I'm sure many of you feel the same way. Those are emotions from God. Now, don't get me wrong, we have to move beyond those situations and move beyond those feelings, but it's human to feel. Jesus felt in the Garden of Gethsemane, but he worked through his feelings to get to a place where God wanted him to be. And the Bible clearly says, in your anger, do not sin. And that's what I caution myself, and I also caution you. In our anger, do not sin. But we do feel, and it's okay to feel. But the deal is, I choose the Bible over my feelings. I have to, because if not, my feelings will keep me in a dark place. But I choose the Bible over my feelings. I choose to be indignant, right? But I choose also mercy, and I choose to love, right? Because the Bible teaches that we should love our enemies. But Micah chapter 6 verse 8 says, he has shown you, O man, what is good. And what does the Lord require of you? To act justly, right? Justice. To act justly and to love mercy. And so you have to have justice, but you also have to balance it with mercy. And then it says to walk humbly before your God. And so there we have no place to get arrogant or conceited or prideful, right? Because the deal is, we're all sinners. And the Bible here says that you got to have justice, but you also have to have mercy. You got to have forgiveness. You got to have grace. And this is why I choose the Bible. I choose the Bible because had I not come in contact with Jesus and listened to the Bible, I'd be enraged. I'd be in a bad place now. But I think I'm in a fairly good place because I have decided to choose the Bible. The Bible says in Luke chapter 6 and verse 27, but I tell you, who hear me, love your enemies, and do good to those who hate you, and bless those who curse you. Pray for those who mistreat you. And I'm telling you, that's a high call. But that, if you are a disciple of Jesus, which I am, then this is a call that I have to come to. And it is a challenge for me. But I know I have the power to do it because I decided to follow Jesus. But it says, do good to those who hate you. Love your enemies. Bless those who persecute you. And pray. And that's the key right there, is being in prayer. Being a person that is praying through this situation. The deal is, God is the one that changes things. Man messes things up. God is the one that changes things. I choose Jesus. Most importantly, I choose Jesus. Jesus says, come to me, for my burden is light and my yoke is easy. And the Bible teaches that we should cast our anxieties on Jesus because he cares. He cares. I choose Jesus because I can't do it myself. I can't wish it away. I can't hope it just go away, or I can't listen to the news. I have to depend on Jesus. And it says in Matthew chapter 11, verse 28, come to me, all of you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. You will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. John chapter 14 verse 1 says, do not let your heart be troubled. Trust in God, also trust in me. I choose Jesus. I have to choose Jesus, because if I choose anything other than Jesus, it won't be good for me. It would be good for the people around me. So I'm so grateful that I have an option to choose Jesus. And then lastly, it says, John chapter 16, verse 33, I have told you these things so that you may have peace in this world. You will have trouble, but take heart, for I have overcome the world. This is Jesus. Jesus says, I have overcome the world. And I don't know about you, but those words, they bring a sense of peace. They bring a sense of, safety and security. They also bring a piece of, just a sense of power. That this world can't control me. The devil can't, keep me down, and people can't discourage me to a point where I want to give up. No, because Jesus says I have overcome the world. And I just want to encourage all of you today, be strong and turn to Jesus. And, I pray that these times that God will deal with people how he deals with them. And I pray that I will have the heart and have the compassion to be like Jesus would be, and to be able to show mercy and grace, because we all need it. But as I grapple with this injustice, I know the true answer is to choose Jesus. Is to choose Jesus. At the Columbia Church, we're going to be having some times where we're going to meet together and talk about some of these sensitive topics, but we're going to do it in a healthy way. We're going to create a safe place and talk about, let people, vent and get things off their heart, but also figure out how to process this the right way so that people can heal, but also reach out to people who need more help. And so be listening and be looking as we talk about these sensitive topics in the Columbia Church. I'm so grateful and so proud of the Columbia Church and the leadership of it, and how the elders and the staff have decided, hey, that we are going to stand for righteousness, and we're going to stand against injustice, but we also are there for all of our members to be able to talk to and listen to, and even some of our friends who need this outside of the church. We're here for you, and we want this time to be a time where God gets every bit of the glory. I must say this, that the devil wants to kill, steal, and destroy. And it's going to be very important for, disciples and Christians and church members, brothers and sisters, to be aware that the devil wants to divide us and to pit us against each other. But this is the time where we need to be the most unified, because the world is hurting and it needs the church to be the church so it can escape the world. And so if you're on Facebook or Instagram or any of these media platforms, please do not engage in destructive conversations. If someone wants to argue with you or have a destructive conversation, please shut it down. Stop. Tell them you're not going to do that. Choose Jesus, as opposed to choosing being right or arguing about who's right and who's wrong. Choose Jesus at this moment. And I just want to encourage us that the world is looking, and the world needs a place for refuge. It needs answers, and the only answers can come through Jesus. And so this is why I know we're hurting, but this is when we need to come together and be the light to this dark world. And I claim this victory of unity for the church in Jesus' name.